ambiance. It almost was like a nightclub in the daytime.
When you went to visit Kay, you had to sit on the floor because she sawed the legs off the
Excuse
grand piano
me.
and covered the whole grand
Be
piano
excused.
in red vinyl. Then she took a case of fingernail polish and painted all of the furniture.
And she said, I found the perfect shade of Revlon nail polish. And with that, we went in the store and bought cases and cases and cases of this particular shade of Revlon nail polish. And then went back to her place and, like idiots, sat there with unprimed balsa wood tables, trying to paint them with little fingernail polish brushes.
Everything was pink. Everything had to be pink. All accents of pink. And there was a famous song written for her for the movie Funny Face. A song called Think Pink was created just for Kay because that's how she thought. Well, children's books up to that point had been mostly about teddy bears that come to life, have picnics. Kay just came along with let's have a little girl, but not just everybody's little girl. She's very special. She has the run of the Plaza Hotel, and her 3 favorite words are charge it please. And everything is from room service. Well, every child in the world identifies with that. I mean, you take a child to a hotel and put it in its own room with a telephone, that child will order Coca-Colas and club sandwiches and French fries. And Eloise had a diet like that, and so did Kay.
Well, I come from a family, both my mother and father were artists, so I was completely enveloped in this family tradition. So when a woman who was my neighbor said, I want you to meet Kay because she has got this character that she does, and it's this funny little girl named Eloise.
And when she called you on the phone, sometimes you would answer the phone and she would say, it's me, Eloise.
And she said, I want the 2 of us to meet. We went to the Plaza, and I went with a friend, and we saw her act. We sat with her afterwards. I showed her some sketches, and we started working at once because I was totally intrigued. Maybe 2 days later, she sent me these 3 or 4 sheets of paper that had simple declarations. The opening line, I'm Eloise, I'm 6. I have a dog that looks like a cat. And she said, just go with this. See what you think this should be. Kay was very familiar with the Plaza because she had worked there and she had lived there. And she loved the hotel, and it was a perfect setting for a little kid. It's like a wonderland. When the 2 of us were working, I can hear her now sitting on the floor, rattling off this dialogue, either in her own voice, but very easily popping back into Eloise, this very curious voice coming from this 50-ish something lady. But it was normal, and it helped me a lot. And we would work simultaneously. She'd be reading dialogue, and I would be sketching. And sometimes we would
Excuse me once again.
On a wall.
My excuse again.
Think of this as a movie. And she'd pin them up on like a clothesline. Each page, it was like a storyboard. And then we'd look at them and discuss it. And a lot of erasing and starting anew. And we had a book within a year. We started in '54. And the book came out Thanksgiving of 1955.
But I remember certainly that the first book was a bestseller. It was an instantaneously popular book and has never been out of print.
Each book was done one after the other. When we were finished with one, we'd start the next. Eloise in Paris, then the Christmas book, then Moscow. So they came out 55, 56, 57, and 58.
And I certainly think personally, and I know many of my friends who knew Kay agree, that the character, the inner life of Eloise, if you will, pretty much matches up with Kay's. I mean, Kay would stick a Kleenex box on her head. There was nothing that was beyond the kind of outrageousness that she possessed, which was hilariously funny.
Eloise was Kay's 6-year-old alter ego, pouring Perrier down the male chute. And that's exactly what Kay would have done. Kay said, you know, Eloise will never grow up and neither will I.
I think that it's her psyche, and it was a fantasy of hers that she then transposed into this little child.
She said, I don't need an analyst because I have Eloise. And all the things that trouble me, I just put in Eloise's mouth. That's my 6-year-old alter ego, and she can say whatever she damn well pleases. You try to describe Kay Thompson, you have to tell people that once upon a time there was this woman who came into your life and started to sing, started to paint, started to write, started to compose, and she did it unlike anybody else ever did it before or ever would do again. And this is true. You cannot really describe the uniqueness of Kay. When she died, somebody said, I thought she would live forever. Well, she did live forever, but it wasn't long enough.